Another enormous issue was an explosion around sexual harassment and sexual assault in the workplace. Names like Susan Fowler, Rose McGowan, Tarana Burke. What's this all about? Well, it goes far beyond the immediate question. And what do I mean? I mean that we have a tiny group of people, the top executives, the board of directors, literally 10, 20, 30, 40 people, have enormous power. They can give you a job, give you an income, or take it away from you, allow you to move up in the hierarchy of the company, or keep you down, give you an opportunity of a lifetime, or block you from it. And guess what? If you give that kind of unequal power to a few, you're literally creating the opportunity for them who have that power to abuse it, to make demands on people below them to meet their needs, sexual but not sexual too, or else risk losing a job, or else risk losing promotion, or else risk losing the opportunity. The fundamental issue brought by the women in particular who have said this has got to stop goes far beyond the immediate demand, important as it is. Because what these women are doing is calling out the hierarchical structure of the workplace for everybody. Why do we allow a small group of people to have that kind of power over a large group with no return power? That should have been the problem all along. And particularly in a country that fashions itself democratic. If democracy is a valuable thing, then it belongs in the workplace, from which it has been excluded from the earliest days of our society. The women are teaching us that there is an inequality that has horrific personal consequences. And you know, while the suffering you go through if you are sexually harassed or assaulted is unquestionable, there's lots of other kinds of suffering that are very similar. A career denied, a career broken, a job lost, a family dislocated because someone with power has the ability to do that to you. And the solution comes immediately. If we had worker cooperatives as the basic way we organized jobs, if when you went to work, you went into a community run democratically, where the people who work are their own bosses, working to divide the labor amongst themselves, everyone holding everyone else accountable. You're not then going to have a few people in a position to extort things out of other people. You don't even have the employer-employee dichotomy. Nobody's in a position to abuse another as a worker because everybody who's a worker is also an employer, and everybody who's an employer is also a worker. Hiring and firing is a collective decision, not one that is concentrated in a few people. You know, in the human race, if you go back and you read about kings and emperors and czars, people who had power in a whole society, rather like the power that a board of directors has at a workplace, you will remember that you read about things like concubines and harems and all the ways that kings and emperors abused, including in sexual ways, their authority. We got rid of kings, and part of the reason was we didn't want that kind of authority. No government that isn't accountable. Well, if it's going to be a government that has to be accountable to the people, what about the government inside the workplace? Why isn't it accountable? Why haven't we set up the institution, the democratic working out of the big decisions, so that nobody is in a position to abuse? This is not a problem that's going to be solved by telling people not to misbehave. Let me remind everyone that a few decades ago, when we had a big drug problem in this country, we had leaders saying that the important thing to do is to turn to the people abusing drugs and say to them, just say no. Well, we've tried that 30, 40 years. Our drug problem today is worse than it was then. Telling people to just say no doesn't work. Telling people not to sexually harass or abuse others, not going to work either. You have to change the way people are connected, how they relate to one another, to stop this from happening. And going away from a hierarchical, top-down, undemocratic workplace to a collective community workplace where everybody's accountable to everybody else is a way to reorganize society so neither sexual nor other kinds of abuse are driven by a system that reproduces that kind of behavior.